Hello everyone, welcome back to Carpenter Station. Been a little while, but haven't really been tinkering with too much. Except this door, evidently. Did download Razer Game Booster, which does magnificent wonders for a lot of my games. But I think it may actually just be the server that's being a bit laggy, so we've got our low frames again today, but they've been worse. I think we're okay. You can see I've been tearing apart the floor a bit, Bill. I think I'll explain that in a moment. First up is we are now one more building to our repertoire, as it were. Because we now have the arched metal building, although this is cobblestone, but you know, you get the idea. Which is at the back on the left-hand side of Outpost 31. I don't know what this is used for in the course of the movie, and you don't really see it much in the course of the movie either. So I'm thinking, whilst we do have the greenhouse over in that direction with our trees and such, I think this is probably going to be where I start growing food, like wheat and whatnot. So I'll probably... That's probably what I'm going to dedicate this area to, and I'm probably going to try and incorporate the crop machines as well. Which I'm told can take absolute ages to do, and are kind of heavily random. But, it's worth a look into, I guess, because hey, if we can grow iron, then it's not like our biggest resource, but it'd be handy nonetheless. Wow, the world is loading slowly today. There we go. Right, well, as to the floor, you can kind of tell what's a stone block and what's a cover, can't you? That's one of the things I don't like about the covers, but see, they lead around over here, and we have this weird looking thing, which is a mag tube, which is sort of the pneumatic tube's version of a gold pipe from Buildcraft, which is that they will well, this is where it gets complicated. They're used for accelerating items, but they don't actually accelerate them themselves. They use those blocks at the end, not that behind it, the accelerator, which usually glows blue when it's activated, but it'll work just fine otherwise. This one isn't powered and won't accelerate items, but for the purposes of today, we're okay for it. Because our main thing for today is the item delivery system, which also goes around here and into our storage area, where it would when I've finished hooking it up, but not quite just yet. And that's going to be used for all of our different systems around the whole station to take in what they need and put out what they create and have it go wherever it's needed or the storage area if there is nowhere else. So I've changed a few things around in here, because this is going to be kind of our test case, as it were. So here we have the diamond factory, and what this needs to intake is logs, a flint, and it would take an obsidian if we didn't have this here, which I've kind of compacted and made a bit more vertical, so we have a bit more room to move around. And all the tubes now go underneath the floor, so we can still walk around in here. Probably not upgrade this compressor by the end of the day, but that's for later. Now you can see there are different colours here. We've got blue and green for flint and obsidian. And that is because over here we have a sorting machine, which isn't doing all too much, because it's not really powered at the moment, same as the accelerator. But it does what I need to do at the moment. And then in here we have a regulator. A regulator has like this mask on the left for what it can take in. Storage area in the middle. This little thing in between them is whether you have to wait for the proper ratios or whether you just put in what needs to be put in. So that's asynchronous at the moment. And this is sort of a filter for when to output, such as when there's less than, say, 64 wood, you can output whatever's in the storage of wood. And that's used in a few places. I use it in some of my larger tree farms as a way of managing bone meal and saplings and stuff. But here we're using it as a kind of poor man's intake filter. So this will only accept flint and wood up to 64 and 8 respectively. So whenever wood comes along this main line, it'll pop in here if this is empty, and it'll go through our sorting machine and into the chests that feeds into our furnace, which I don't know if it was an induction furnace last time, but I've upgraded it since. I'm kind of just gradually upgrading these machines to the next level as I find out which one is taking the most time. And actually, probably an electric furnace with an overclock would work faster, but this kind of needs a redstone torch or something next to it, but we don't really have the power for it, but I'll talk about that later. So, next, down here, we have our relay, which is full of copper, which is full of obsidian, because there's nowhere else for it to go at the moment. And this is a restriction tube, which is just a pneumatic tube with some iron. And that functions as 1,000 blocks long, as I believe I said last episode when we were making the lava station. Which means, best case, if this piece of pipe tube will only be used if there's absolutely nowhere else it can go, so it's our output. We don't really need anything particularly special for the outputs. If we can color things on the way out if we want to, but we don't really need to. And if we do, there are issues if it tries to go to the storage area. But that's that for now. And one handy thing I can do here is I can reach into my deployer and take out a lava bucket if I need to, which is a nice little change, but I digress. So, we have our accelerator, we have our regulator, which is our input, we have our relay, which is our output, and we need to connect our mag tubes to something a bit useful. Most obvious for the diamond factory is the tree farm down here. So, well, actually, also this, the diamond factory is going to be outputting its diamonds, and it actually has, I think, a few backed up, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this last compressor doesn't need to be very quick. But yeah, then we have 11 diamonds. Lovely, lovely. And very little power in there, so, all the machines will be winding down. Unfortunately, you can't really, overclock or anything the, induction furnace like you can the, rotary macerator. It's a bit of a pain. I don't quite know why that's the case, but it's a pain, either way. Everything there. Yeah. Okay, so what we need to make is another regulator and another relay. So if we just look them up. Yep, that auto-sorting again. That's going to require 2 buffers and an item detector, and I happen to know that the relay requires a buffer as well. So we need to make 3 buffers, which means iron bars and wooden planks. That's actually very, very simple. A buffer is sort of... a buffer is sort of a waiting area for items. It doesn't actually output anything, and it doesn't really... Well, it'll take inputs from basically every side, and you can output them from the same side as well. It's like it has 6... kind of storage points inside of it, but it's not particularly useful for us. It's, as I say, it's sort of a waiting area. It doesn't really do anything specific other than serve as kind of odd little chests, kind of like 6 chests in one. Yep, that's how I make that. Down here you can see some things I've been working with, but again, I'll be talking about that in a little bit. If you recognize any of these ingredients, you can probably guess what it is I'm going to work on, but not right now. Okay, so there's our 3 buffers, because we need a regulator. So an item detector is going to require a little bit of stuff, namely this red doped wafer. Do we have any red doped wafers? No, but we do have silicon wafers. Let's see, the relay I think requires one of these. Yep, so we need 3 of them. There we go, right. Yep, and redstone, and let's take a piece of charcoal. I've been brewing some of my own charcoal in here just so it doesn't get sent directly into the diamond factory. But we can set, if we wanted to, we could set up like well, most of the charcoal is probably going to end up in fuel manufacturing over that way, and whatever doesn't get sent down there for whatever reason, probably due to the input mask, is going to go down here to the diamond factory, where it'll be well, actually, charcoal. Not much use to the diamond factory unless we take out the whole requiring of logs. But that's something to work. That's something to consider later. Okay, so those... This is a mild waste of fuel, but what the hell, we have plenty. I'm one of those guys who's tremendously anal about how you use fuel, but oh well. It's like I once built an entire dwarven underground city inside of a stronghold. The map unfortunately no longer exists. And people kept being really, really inefficient with the coal supply, which meant someone had to go into the wood farm, the tree farm, cut down a bunch of logs, and then use those to, like, cook up some more charcoal, which it doesn't really ever seem like getting coal and whatnot is that big of a deal. Like, it's always something that's reasonably plentiful. Until you realize that it means someone has to go and get it. So at that point, that's where I usually draw the line as, okay, this is where we need to talk. This is where there is a disconnect, where there is a problem in our community. Okay, and we needed that pressure plate. Dupe. Item. There you are. Yes, we did, so it's like that, with a brass ingot, pneumatic tube, and a couple pieces of wood. We have some pneumatic tube down here, but I'm going to save that for later. I believe we have some in our components. Yes, we do, there we go. Lovely jubbly. Oop. You don't go there. Or there. Silly pressure plates, you are not. Oop. Oh, right, yes, this has to be brass at the top, of course. Ah, I'm a little scatterbrained. Sorry about that. It's currently like 10 o'clock at night, and I woke up at about 4 PM today because my room is still an icebox. But there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. Okay, and the regulator. Have I miscounted the number of doped wafers that we're going to need? I think I may have. Yes, I have. And that's just run out of fuel. Lovely. Okay, so going to need to get some more of these, and let's actually just cook up like 8 of them, or close to it. Because I need to get more in the habit of just making things in like what's the phrase? Making things in bulk. That's it. Just because you need so many tiny little elements inside of these machines, and a lot of them you can't like use for almost any other purpose. It's like I can't use a red doped wafer as decoration or anything, so you kind of just need to have them around as part of your manufacturing. Anyways, that's enough, I think. Just leave that to cook the rest of it. And there. Okay, and buffers top and bottom. And a very strange thing to say, speaking of bottom, there's apparently now a fan yaoi pairing, including me. I'm not entirely sure why, but it exists. In fact, specifically, it includes me and Gar. As near as I can tell from the image, I am the... let's see, I think I'm what's called the uke, if not the seme. This isn't something I pay particularly grand attention to, I'll admit, but there's like a specific term for someone who is the top and someone who is the bottom, which is a tremendously loaded term when you're talking about yaoi fanfiction, I guess. But that exists. Does that go there, or does that go... I should grab that. It's not often I have to do that, but it works. Doop. And there we go, there's our relay. A relay is sort of the opposite of a buffer in that it has a small storage for when your system's getting overloaded, but beyond that it never actually stores anything. As long as there is space, it outputs. So it's actually kind of handy, because you can right-click on it to check its inventory, and you can use that as sort of the input to a larger system. Like, when you're just, like, coming back from a mining trip, just dump them in a relay. Which saves you from having to fiddle around with a transposer and stuff. Oop, and we've fallen in a hole. Yep. Ta-da! Okay, so the end thing here is that we're not going to have these two chests, this input and output chest. These are just going to be a relay and a regulator. So, what we need to do is change the wiring that's down here, and have a brown pipe feeding into our relay, and where this filter is, we just have a regulator instead. So, we need to remove these. Fortunately for me, there's nothing down here. Yeah. I can't... Fortunately, I'm carrying a mighty powerful drill. But so there we go. Okay. Yep. Catch the filter. We're going to have a mild problem, because if I remove this brown pipe while the system's functioning, there's going to be a little bit of hell to pay. So, let's go jam up the system a little bit. Which is why it's handy to have this little system. Okay, so, let's see, what we're going to want to do is turn off the brown. Because the brown is when a sapling gets planted, the white's when a piece of bone meal gets planted, so that should, hopefully... Actually, what I could have just done is turn off that timer. Oh well. Because that controls whenever these pulse, so it'll affect when they get detected. Let's just toss these saplings in. I did actually... There was a thread on the Tekkit subreddit about using a filler to make a tree farm capable of harvesting jungle trees. And I posted a while back, like literally two weeks onto that, as to the possibilities of making that a force field operating system. And for a while that seemed a little difficult, a little impossible, until I realized that if you combine frames and a deflector block cutter, like we're using just a directional projector there, but a deflector covers like a square area. You could actually have a system that sort of how do I describe this? If you're familiar at all with the way that 3D printing works, then you may know that 3D printing sort of goes up, sort of works from the bottom and goes up. Whereas actual printing sort of works the same way, which is where the sort of terminology comes from. Let's just stick that there, so I can stick our relay there. And I need to put our regulator on the other side. Let's have it on the other side of this little support beam here. And the regulator needs to face towards me like that, so that the input is where this golden band is. And I'm not carrying any more... Oop, I may also be slightly locked out. Because when I finished off the arched building, then I didn't have a straight up entryway. So we're gonna have to break through the ceiling a little bit, but fortunately we can harvest cobblestone. Not cobblestone, it's concrete. It's just really tough. There we go. Haha! Broken in. I suppose if I was tremendously desperate I could try and break through a wall somewhere. But not a huge problem in this case. So where does our mag tube stop? Okay, if we get 2 pieces and then I have the accelerator on the side here, we can have it link back. Right. So we need an accelerator, which I have plenty of here. And we need some more mag tubes, which I don't have. But that's not hard to do, so... before I kept thinking that there was like a ton of glass, and before I kept thinking there was no glass around, and then I'd look in here and I'd find glass, but then I apparently came to my senses. What was that? Oh, funky stone. Weird. Okay, so we need some obsidian, which we thankfully have plenty of in the relay for the diamond factory. So I can just hop in here and grab some. Doop-doop. Yep, can see it happily going through there. The block breaker is behind this piece of concrete, and it's pushing directly into this filter, which though is being triggered, just purely because of how the red alloy wire is going, isn't actually like doing anything. It's just coloring whatever goes through it blue, which is how we stick it through our system. And of course, when it goes into the relay, it then loses its color, so it can go wherever we want. We could use a filter again, but excuse me. Suddenly, I have the hiccups. So I guess that's infectious. Thanks, Dave. What am I thinking? Right, we need to macerate some cobblestone, and that will get us some sand that we can then actually go and put to use as glass. But yeah, the mag tubes are more or less the only things other than pneumatic tubes that will attach to accelerators. But they won't connect to anything else, or at least not directly. You have to push them through an accelerator. The accelerator will only accelerate things when it's charged, which requires bluetricity Thank you very much for that, LRM. There's very little on the way of how to do that. And then they will shoot things out, kind of like how a golden pipe will. And you can transfer them. You can transform them back into like regular pneumatic tube speed, with just a regular, uncharged one. But you need to actually accelerate, you need to have them charged. But they don't require a redstone signal after all that, so that's handy. Okay, so one there and one there, and they have a relatively huge hitbox as well. It's like you may recall fiddling around with these pneumatic tubes, they have that tiny little square in the middle, but here it's more or less contiguous, or at least more so than the other ones. And I'm kind of rambling now, aren't I? Sorry. I tend to do that every now and then. Okay. Can I move around to there? Probably if I go down here. Which is this dark pit that I really should do something about. Oh, and that's the feed line. Whoop, creeper. Up, up, and away! Faster! Yep. Re-enable. Before I kill myself. Okay, there it is. And... you? Did I... oh, no, that's that. Since I've opened up the floor and placed it with covers, more light is coming through, so it's messing with my current control system for the emergency lights. Okay, and you can see that these accelerators are directional, so this isn't actually connecting to it. Which reminds me, I'm actually going to have to destroy this support pillar a little bit. Oh well, strictly speaking, this also needs to be a restriction tube, which is just a sort of a formality. It prevents things from sticking back into it, or at least reduces the odds of it doing it, but not a huge problem. But now I need to go make a... I need to open a freaking door at the front here, because it's not good practice to keep breaking, to just bust a hole in the roof and walk through. But at least I'm not doing it in the construction foam, because that takes ages to set. It's really annoying to place. Yep, and we're actually running to a long episode at this point. Well, let's see if we can get this sorted out, and then we'll, there's one more thing I want to sort out today, which is upgrading that compressor. Pneumatic tubes, there you are. Anything else I'm gonna need? Nope. So let's just grab a piece of iron. Tube. Bam. There we go. Restriction tube. And as I say, that's just a formality. Just to kind of... if there's no... well, this is hard to describe. The way a restriction tube works is that it's 1,000 blocks long. So, the tube system, which works on distance and such, doesn't like to pick them. Punch through here a sec. Yep. Is there anything in here? Is it actually... yep, it's got some wood already. So, yeah, whenever that happens. Restriction tube. Oh, no. There. Okay, now let's actually just stick the wood in here. It's not going to go anywhere until we hook this up to the accelerator. And there it goes. That's going to head off over to the diamond factory. So let's see if we can catch it before it gets there. We should be able to, because it's a long hallway. Grr. Hello, station chicken. Okay, this is where I regret not using glass covers, but oh well. Probably easier if we wait on the inside. Yep. Yep, so it hasn't come in just yet. This is why you accelerate it. And there's the 13 wood. It's kind of stuck because this isn't charged. But, I don't have any batteries to charge it, but, oh well. Actually, that's my next thing, is I need to have some kind of electricity power supply at each of these accelerators. Or at least every one of them is outputting something. but also because of this sorting system, which has advanced a little bit over here. Which is so many gold chests, yes, which is that I now actually have a sorting machine. I've never actually liked the look of the sorting machine, that's why I prefer to use other things like regulators. Because the sorting machines look like someone took a cube and stretched a very dead face over it. I've never liked that look. I don't know what it's meant to look like in Sphax, but it just looks hideous to me. But anyway, case solved there. It does actually work. So now we just need to wire up the input regulator on the tree farm for saplings and bone meal. And ideally, get something set up into the storage room. So if any excess can just go in there, like the wealth of obsidian that's getting in there. But we're actually just going to upgrade this compressor first into the obsidian-based version. Which is the Singularity. So we need that, and a advanced machine block, which means carbon plates. So thankfully I have some coal in the lab. Well, actually the lab's on the other end, and on the other side, but I have some stuff over here. The machine shop, I guess this is. So, to get the carbon plates requires... let's see, 8 coal each. This is charcoal, what am I thinking? So we need 16 of those into dust. Ah, and our sand's finished. Hooray! Just stick that in there with the rest of it. And what was that we needed? We needed some alloys. Yep, 2 advanced alloys. Which I don't think we have. But it's easy to make, so that's just free refined iron. Apparently I don't have any bronze. Free tin. And bronze is copper dust and tin dust. Like this. Convenient. And also convenient is that it gives 2 per instance, though there we go. Except that we actually need more, a bit more than that. Ugh, gonna have to be naughty. A little bit. And macerate some of the copper that we have. So why you should always have, like, a distinction between the two. How's this going? Are you gonna be nice and do that as well? No, you aren't. This second slot is meant to macerate along with the rest of the ingredient of the stuff in the macerator, but for some reason it seems to be a bit bugged. I'm not exactly sure why, but there we go. Let's swap you over. Thankfully it's going at quite a speed. And yeah, then it just starts slowing down. So as near as I can tell, it thinks that it's empty because it's not checking into that second slot. But yeah, over here you can see where you put all of the upgrades into a machine. So there's things like the energy storage upgrade, the overclocker upgrade, and all sorts. But the induction furnace, despite being like a second advanced machine, doesn't have those for some reason. Okay, so that and that gets us our raw carbon fiber. And that gets us our raw carbon mesh. And we stick these into the compressor, where for some reason I have a compressed plant. That will create our carbon plates. And that will be the sound of the macerator dying down. I believe I put them over here. Yes, there they are. Okay, and another piece of tin. Doop, doop, doop. Joop. There we are. That should do us nicely. That's 3 pieces of bronze. You can equivalent exchange bronze, but we're not touching that, so... Well, I say not touching. He said, like, a couple blocks down the hall from a diamond factory that uses them. But suffice it to say, we're not using them as the basis of our playthrough here. Which is sort of something I would advise, just in general. Like, equivalent exchange is a great shortcut, and it has some cool and handy stuff. But, I wouldn't use it as the basis of your playthrough. Because, the industrial is harder, but it gives you more things to do. So it kind of works better if you're just, like, playing the game. Okay, and into there. And we need a machine block, which is 8 refined iron. There we go. Boop. Apparently I make very funny sounds when I open up boxes and stuff. I don't know why, but I am. Yep, and let's do that. Right. Oh yeah, apparently, a great many of my viewers are just listening to my videos, rather than actually watching them, because apparently my voice is interesting. I'm not exactly sure how that is, but I suppose I wouldn't, considering it's just my voice as far as I'm concerned. With the weird accent and whatnot that I have. Yep, there we go, advanced machine block. And I shall go wrench the compressor from the wall, and pick up some obsidian while I'm there. I've been described as a very eloquent. I've been described as a very eloquent YouTuber, which I'll grant my. And here's a problem. That filter's gonna look for something. Phew, picked it up. Okay, so yeah, I've been described as a fairly eloquent YouTuber, which is not exactly what I would claim to be. I would claim to have a reasonably substantial vocabulary, but not much else, really. But that kind of reminds me of a fellow I know. His name is Morgan Van Humbeck, and he is from the old lands of Canada. Let's go steal from that relay again. And Morgan is a very interesting person. I met him a few years back when I went to visit the Loading Ready Run guys in Canada, who are doing a 24/7 charity marathon at the moment, and you should totally go and check that out. Yup. I have to go now, my people need me. Which is one thing I really like about the jetpack, is you jump once and you just hold down jump and go straight up, whereas with the Rending Gale, you have to jump twice. Just one tiny little thing. There we go. Okay. I'll just put this wrench away before I wrench something else off the wall. And we shall then try to stress test our upgraded system. Which probably means I'm gonna have to stick my L2 door. Go. Thank you. Which probably means I'm going to have to stick my lap pack in here. Okay, so you do not have charge because there is no power in here. Yes, of course. Fortunately, that does not go there. I do not want to burn my lap pack. There we go. I could use the crystals, but I'm using them more as like recharging for my jetpack. And so, with this charged... can you apply to that? No, the filter can't. Which is going to be a little bit annoying, but oh well. So yeah, let's go grab the wood that's in here. And just stick that directly into here. Ooh, just while I'm here, you can see that there is actually colouring to this one. This one's called red, because that's what our sorting machine is, where our sorting machine is putting wood. I, strictly speaking, should have one of each of the wood blocks here in case I install like some different trees, but not likely. Okay, and yeah, our coal chest is empty. And this is pulling out every 4. It has a decent amount of power now, so it should climb up quite happily. And so the majority of time right now is probably just waiting for this thing to heat up. And then it goes into here, which is has a torch behind it, so it's constantly revved anyway, as long as it has power. So it shoots through macerating rather quickly. Probably don't need to put one here, but like a torch behind this compressor. And same with the last one, just because they have a lot less work to do than the rest. But there we go. Seems to be working just so far. How far are we from... we're 8 from from that then. So we're about 6 away. Which is a lot more wood than that. Right, let me just go grab a stack from the extant output chest over here then. One thing I worked out a while ago is that I need about 8 frames per second to run. But my frames are staying rather naughtily down around the 6 and 7 marks today, which is lovely. Yeah, it's kind of weird for me to consider myself... I think the only way to describe it is popular, because... Firstly, this is not my main thing. Like, my main thing is the webcomic. But, it's just, this is a fun thing that I started doing to supplement a reduced content kind of output on Remember. But, it's kind of... But now I've got, like, fans, and to some extent, rabid fangirls, and people making me yaoi, apparently. So it's kind of a weird thing. But let's see, what have we done today? We've, shown off the new arch building, which I'll probably have, like, metal roofs of some kind, maybe steel there. We've connected the item delivery system to the tree farm, even if it's not quite able to input properly here. We have upgraded the compressor, and I think next time we are going to be working on power. I'll have tidied up all this stuff and probably added thermopiles around here to sort things out, but we're going to be working on power. So, to finally sort out the problems we have had with having to chuck stuff into machines and stuff. And yep, there goes all of the power from my lab pack. That's going to take ages to recharge. Especially since we don't have a wall anchor here, so hurrah! Let's just see. No, we haven't got anything in there yet. There's 7 in there, so we're close. How are we doing over here? Yep. The induction furnace uses its second slot nicely. Oh, and there goes the egg. Yep, pressure building up in the singularity compressor. The macerator and the compressor's upgraded versions have like a factor of 10 separation between their PSIs. So the pressure there, 3250, and the RPM here, speed, is like... One of them is like 10 times smaller and relative to each other. But they still cap it. I think it's like 7,500 unless you overclock them. And there we go, compressed coal ball. In basically no time whatsoever. And even if that was starting from scratch. So, I think we'll end the day there. And I shall catch you next time in the basement building a power supply. Bye!